Welcome to the Explainer. Today we are tackling that big alphabet soup of modern web development: CSR, SSR, SSG, and ISR. We're going to break down what they all mean, how they actually work, and, most importantly, how you can figure out which one is the right fit for whatever you're building.
You know that feeling, right? You click a link and one site just, poof, it's there, instantly. But the next one, you're just staring at a blank white screen, waiting, wondering if it's broken. Well, that difference all comes down to a really fundamental choice: how that website is actually rendered and delivered to your browser.
And if you ever right-click and view page source on a lot of modern web apps, this is pretty much all you'll see. An empty little container, that's it. This is the heart of the problem we're unpacking today. It's this constant battle between building these super slick, interactive sites and, well, building sites that search engines can actually figure out.
So, here's our game plan. We'll touch on the core problem, then we'll walk through the four big solutions: SSR, CSR, SSG, and the newer kid on the block, ISR. And we'll wrap it all up with a simple guide to help you pick the right tool for the job. Let's dive in.
All right, our story starts with the OG method, server-side rendering, or SSR. And the best way to think about it? It's like a classic diner where every single meal is made fresh to order. With SSR, the server is basically your personal chef. Every single time you ask for a page, it runs to the kitchen, grabs all the ingredients, the data, the content, and builds a complete, fully formed HTML page right there on the spot. Then it sends that finished dish right over to your browser, hot and ready. The whole process is beautiful in its simplicity. Step 1, you ask for a page. Step 2, the server gets to work pulling data and building that HTML. And finally, Step 3, it sends the whole, complete, ready-to-look-at page to your browser. No assembly required on your end, it just works. And this gets us to the big trade-off. The huge, massive win for SSR is search engine optimization, SEO. Google sees a full page right from the get-go. This also means you get a super fast first contentful paint. The user sees stuff on the screen almost immediately. But there's always a but, right? All that cooking puts a lot of strain on the server, and the page isn't actually clickable or interactive until all the JavaScript loads in and rehydrates it, which basically means bringing that static HTML to life. But as web apps got way more complicated, and we started wanting these rich desktop app-like experiences, we needed something different. So enter client-side rendering, or CSR. Now, if SSR is the diner, CSR is like one of those meal kit delivery services. The work shifts from the restaurant's kitchen to yours. Yeah, with CSR, the server just sends your browser two things: a nearly empty HTML file and a big box of JavaScript ingredients. Your browser then becomes the chef. It executes all that JavaScript, goes out and fetches the data it needs, and builds the entire page right there on your computer. This is the magic behind basically all modern single-page applications: your React, your Vue, your Angular apps. So the whole workflow creates a totally different feel. First, your browser gets that empty shell. Then it has to download and run all the JavaScript. And that JavaScript takes over, fetching data and building out the user interface. The upside? Once that's done, every click, every interaction, it's instant. It's all handled right there in the browser without needing a full page reload every time. And here we see the trade-offs are the exact opposite of SSR. Once it's loaded, the user experience is just fantastic. It's fluid, it's fast, it feels like a native app. The big problem is getting it loaded in the first place. You get that dreaded blank screen while the JavaScript is downloading. And worse, search engines often see that same empty shell, which can be a total nightmare for SEO. So this left developers with a major headache. Do you go for the great SEO and fast initial view of SSR, or the amazing interactivity of CSR? To try and get the best of both worlds, they came up with an approach that's kind of like a giant, pre-made, all-you-can-eat buffet: static site generation, or SSG. Now, the key insight here is kind of revolutionary. What if we just pre-cook every single page of the site before a user ever even shows up? With SSG, your entire website is generated into plain old static HTML files during what's called a build process. Then you take those files and put them on a CDN, a content delivery network,
which is just a global web of servers ready to fire that page out instantly to anyone, anywhere. This whole workflow is just incredibly efficient. First, you build everything up front, all your pages. Then you stick them on that global CDN. So when a user finally visits your site, the pre-built page is served from a server that's physically close to them. The result is just insanely fast load times. It's absolutely perfect for sites where the content doesn't change much, like blogs, portfolios, or documentation sites. The upsides here are huge. You get blazing fast performance, perfect SEO, and super low hosting costs because you're just serving simple files. But there's a catch. The data goes stale. If you have a new site or an e-commerce store with changing prices, you can't just rebuild your entire site every time a new article gets published. For a big site, the build times would just be way too long. And that exact problem, the stale data problem, led to the latest and honestly probably the most clever evolution in rendering, Incremental Static Regeneration, or ISR. This is our smart buffet. It's a buffet that automatically restocks itself with fresh food without ever having to close down. ISR is this brilliant hybrid approach. The pages are static, so you get all that incredible speed from SSG, but they also have a kind of best before date. It works using a strategy called stale while revalidate. And what that means is, when a user requests a page that's expired, they still get the old stale version instantly. But at the exact same time, a request is triggered in the background to rebuild that page with fresh data. So the next person to visit gets the brand new version. And the wild part is how simple this can be to set up. In a framework like Next.js, you can turn on ISR by adding just one line of code, revalidate 60. That's it. This just tells the framework, hey, serve the static page, but if a request comes in and this page is more than 60 seconds old, go ahead and trigger a rebuild behind the scenes. The next visitor gets the fresh stuff. It's awesome. So with ISR, you're really getting the best of both worlds. You've got the raw speed of a static site, but your data stays fresh. And it's all still perfectly optimized for search engines. The main trade-off? Well, it's possible one user might briefly see some stale data, and the setup is a little more complex. But for big sites that need both speed and frequent updates, this is the magic bullet. Okay, so we have our full menu of options. We've got the made-to-order diner, the do-it-yourself meal kit, the pre-made buffet, and that self-restocking smart buffet. With all these choices on the table, how in the world do you pick the right recipe for your project? Let's just lay it all out in one place. When you look at it like this, you can really see the main tension is between that initial load speed and how fresh the data is. Static approaches like SSG and ISR are going to be the fastest to load, but they risk serving old data. On the flip side, CSR has totally live data, but that slow initial load. And SSR, our classic diner, kind of sits right there in the middle, trying to balance both. So at the end of the day, you have to match the strategy to what your app actually needs. If your content almost never changes, like a blog or a portfolio, SSG is a no-brainer. It's unbeatable. Building a highly interactive dashboard behind a login where SEO means nothing? CSR is perfect. Need great SEO and live real-time data? Traditional SSR is going to be your best friend. And for those huge sites that need both lightning speed and constant updates, ISR is that powerful modern solution. The world of web rendering isn't just a simple A or B choice anymore. It's a whole spectrum of really powerful techniques, and each one has its place. Now that you know all the recipes, there's really only one question left. What are you going to cook up next?